am fantasy and paranormal romance author Leslye Penelope, and welcome to My Imaginary Friends, a look behind the scenes of an author mapping the worlds in my head and making them a reality. Hello, friends. Today is Friday, June 26th, 2026, and this is episode 262 of My Imaginary Friends. I'm Leslye. If you would like the links mentioned in each episode, along with show notes, plus my various thoughts on writing craft and the author life delivered right to your inbox, go over to myimaginary.friends.net/footnotes and subscribe to the Footnotes newsletter. And if you want to go deeper, please consider becoming an imaginary best friend for a few dollars a month to get exclusive content and discounts on my courses and coaching. I'd love to see you there. So this week's best thing is that over the course of the past week or so, I've had a couple of really great conversations. I was lucky enough to speak in real life to Shaheem, who is known as Conjuring Literacy on Instagram and I believe also TikTok. And Shaheem is doing his PhD thesis on the monsters we defy, in addition to, of course, a book by Toni Morrison. And just being included in someone's PhD thesis was completely insane to me. It's a huge honor when I found out about it. And so he was in town and I got to sit down in person with him. We did a live stream. You can check out Conjuring Literacy, his Instagram, and for that whole conversation, really deep diving, having someone really smart who's doing something academic on my book is, and including it in this canon. It's so validating and kind of hard to believe also. Um, Also, I spoke to a book club this past week, the Vintage and Black Book Club, and I love talking to book clubs about my book. We talked about Daughter of the Merciful Deep, and just talking to people who've actually read it and liked it enough to want to talk to me in person and dive deeper about it is super fun. I'm doing another book club this Sunday in person in DC. Well, not in DC. They call it DC, but it's National Harbor, Maryland. It's Mahogany Books. They have a texture book club, and they are reading Song of Blood and Stone. And so I had to reread it this week because there was no way I'd be able to talk intelligently about a book I wrote, many, many years ago. Like I first wrote Song, 13 years ago? And then this version was published in 2018. I hadn't read it since the last time I did a read along, which is at least 5-6 years. I don't know. And it was really funny rereading it. I reread Song and then I reread Breath of Dust and Dawn. And then I'm like, I think I want to reread all of them. It kind of reminds me of this quote that I remember Will Smith and Jada Pinkett's daughter said when she was a teenager. They asked her, like, what are your favorite books? And she was like, when I want to read, I just write a book and then read my own book. And I was like, at the time, what are you talking about? But now I kind of get it because I really like my books. Good morning or good afternoon, read, love, listen, wherever you may be coming from. Thank you for joining me. How is it reading your own books? I know a lot of authors do not read their own books once they're published, once they're on the shelf, once they can't edit them anymore. It is frightening. It's a little terrifying, but I like it. Now, does it hold up? I was reading it and I was like, I forgot all this stuff. I don't even remember what I wrote all those years ago. Welcome, Jada. Glad you made it. So rereading Song of Blood and Stone was a time. For those who know, I wrote that book basically 3 times, kind of. There was a self-published version, did a big re-edit when St. Martin's Press bought it and republished it. And then going from hardcover to the special edition, I ended up adding 40,000 words. And, I didn't edit anything that was in the hardcover, but I had to do so much to it. Library Addict says, love Song of Blood and Stone and the whole series. Thank you so much. And the original part I had read many more times. The part that's in this special edition paperback, the new section, Ella and Ben, that whole section for those who have read it. At the time, I think I had to write all of that in 3 months. And it was insane. I've talked about this before, but I didn't remember a lot that happened in that storyline because I hadn't read it as much as I'd read the whole other book. And I was just like rediscovering things. And I'm like, oh, wait, what's going to happen? There's part of it where I legitimately forgot what was about to happen, which is why I reread it, because I knew they were going to be asking me questions. And I'm like, wait, who is that? I have no idea who you're talking about. Um, and so, yeah, that was fun. That was a good time. JD asks, are the barcode free books still available? You're talking about Angel Born, Angel Fall. They are still available on my online store. So if you want that, yes, I do still have some left. What else is happening? Okay, writing update. I'm still working on Blitches, the Black Witch story, which seems to be the work of a lifetime. Um, and I got stuck this week. And so I do want to talk about in a minute getting stuck and how to get unstuck. In the middle of being stuck and kind of looking back, I wrote in my Substack just this morning, just like 2 hours ago. I have a new Substack about a lot of things. It's a little rambly, honestly, but it is. I talk about writing a diary for my books, and as I'm writing, like I keep a diary, very infrequent, whenever I kind of feel like it, and the book that I'm on Blitches, the Blitches diary. Let me open it up and see what I was talking about, because I was, and there's a whole lot of things I do when I get stuck. All right, so this diary begins January 13th, 2026. And it starts with the planning for draft 2, because I sold this book last year. No, I didn't sell this book. Wait a minute. Which book am I talking about? I was writing about Zahar and talking about Zahar. This is Blitches. Blitches has not been sold yet because I haven't finished writing it. The diary starts January 2026. And because yes, I remember now. I did the draft for like NaNoWriMo last November, the first draft. So I've been working on this book for at least a year, almost a year. Yeah. And I've had the idea for years longer. And we're just reading through like what I'm doing and why I'm doing what I'm doing. And as I'm stuck, all the different ideas that I've had, and it got me thinking about all the different ideas I had for Zahara. And I read through that diary, which started in 2024, I believe. And just kind of going through my thought process, like what was I thinking? Yeah, January 2024 is the diary for the book that is now called The Inevitable Undoing of Zahara Douglas, out August 11th, 2026. And it's helpful to have these reminders of how messy my process is and how difficult getting these books out is, how difficult writing a book is. And I know that I am a perfectionist, and I used to call myself a recovering perfectionist, because I know it's a problem. So I came across this quote. I don't even know. I have a file full of quotes. I have several files full of quotes. And this is from Anne Lamott from the book Bird by Bird. And she says, perfectionism is the voice of the oppressor, the enemy of the people. It will keep you cramped and insane your whole life, and it is the main obstacle between you and a shitty first draft. I think perfectionism is based on the obsessive belief that if you run carefully enough, hitting each stepping stone just right, you won't have to die. The truth is that you will die anyway, and that a lot of people who aren't even looking at their feet are going to do a whole lot better than you and have a whole lot more fun while they're doing it. So that hit me like a slap in the face. And I know that I have to kind of let go of things, but it's also hard because, you know, I know the books can't be perfect. I want them to be as good as I can make them. So this balance between driving myself completely insane and having fun while I'm doing this, not being too stressed out, keeping perspective, wanting to make a good product, all of these things are constantly in a battle in my head. And in the middle of all this, I was like, you know what? I've been reading a lot of cozy romantasies, cozy fantasies. And if you will recall, I know some of y'all have been here for a minute. I was writing one. I wanted to write a cozy romantasy. I started in a NaNoWriMo past, and I was like, let me bring that back again. So then I was thinking, is this just resistance, or is this just like a real need to do something more fun? Blitches, I don't want to give anything away. It's a murder mystery. It's a magical HBCU story. I want to, part of my vision statement is, talking about the fun and the life and the energy and the culture of HBCUs and bringing magic into that. But at the moment, am I having fun writing it? Not exactly. And maybe it's just a factor of being stuck. And so then this other thing, the new shiny, the thing you're not working on is always going to be drawing you away. And I do feel like it's important as a professional to finish what you start, but it's also important to know when you need a break. And I don't have answers for that right now. My only answer is to kind of work on both and to try to make time to to do both, because the Blitzer story has been in my heart, and I think y'all are really gonna like it as long as I like it. And then I reread it. So let's talk about how to get unstuck when you're stuck. Because what happened was I got about, and thank you, Reed Lovelison, who says it sounds interesting already. It's going to be good, and I know it is going to be really good. I'm proud of it already, even though I don't know exactly what it's going to be. But the idea has so much energy behind it. Um, so I got like 8 to 10,000 words in, and I switched perspectives because I'm still trying to make this, at this point, I'm trying to make this a 3 POV story. First POV going well. Second POV, it's like, okay, how do I get into this new character's head? How do I find out who she is? I've done all this character work. I've done months of work. But her voice wasn't coming to me. And I did like 1,000 words and I just didn't like them. And so I got stuck at that point, trying to figure out what she sounds like, what it sounds like to be in her head. I have to inhabit, inhabit the bodies and minds of these characters in order to write them and see the world through their eyes. And I really want to differentiate between these three characters. They're different. I want them to sound different. I would love it if, even without the tag of who we're switching to, you would know who it is. But that had me stuck because I couldn't figure out how to do that. And so, however, some people don't believe in writer's block. I don't know. I mean, I think that some people get blocked for real and are blocked for years. And I have never experienced that. But I do get stuck. And whether you want to call it a block or not, it is something that prevents you from moving forward. I have been faced with an obstacle in my path. I was making good progress, and then the progress stops. So what do? First, I step away. Like I don't push myself to keep going and banging my head against the wall. I still honor my writing time. I still come and sit at my desk at the writing time that I have carved out. So I still protect that. And I think that's very important. Now, am I writing during that time? I might not. Sometimes, for some of those days, I was doing some admin stuff. I was doing some day job stuff. But I always start with the manuscript. So whether you have to take a mental or physical step back, honor the writing time, but allow yourself to do that. The next thing I do is reread. So I reread what I had. Regardless of whether you get stuck a few thousand words in, halfway through the book, at the end, and all of those things happen to me, I reread everything that I have to see, like, where did it go wrong? Where did it go off the rails? I kind of knew in this case because I was switching POVs, but the end of the first person's POV is sort of, transitions to the next POV, making sure that was shored up, and there was a few things there. So reread, evaluate what you already have, and how do you feel about it? If you really like it, that can be inspiring. It's like, okay, I know how to do this. I've written something that I like. It's good to just refamiliarize yourself with the story. A lot of times that sparks ideas. A lot of times there are little seeds that I've put in there that I don't even realize, or that I can nurture and say, oh, there's just one line over here, and I didn't know what it meant when I wrote it, but I can use that. I can use that to inform the thing I'm stuck about. The next step is to read other stuff. So part of it was actually rereading Song of Blood and Stone, because it was like I get to reread another book that I've written and that I still like. I did, notice some things that I don't think I would change anything about Song, but I do acknowledge that, like anything, it's not a perfect book, and that the end sort of goes by really fast, which I kind of knew, but I was happier with when I wrote it than I am now. Anyway, not necessarily your own stuff, read other stuff. Filling the well comes into play, but also I go back to craft. So I went to my bookshelf and I was looking, and I remembered this book I had started reading, which I want to do Marginalia Craft Book Club, which is my Substack craft book club. I just can't commit myself to that at the moment. But The Compass of Character is a book by David Corbett, and I pulled it off the shelf, and I had started reading it a couple of months ago. I went in, I read another chapter, I skimmed through some things, and inevitably, whatever craft book I'm inspired to pick up will give me something. So I knew I was having an issue with character. I picked up a book on character. If I'm having an issue with plot, I will pick up a book on plot. That's why it's nice to have a little resource library. So I went back, I read some craft stuff, and then that got me into Googling some, and I read some other articles about POV and first person. And because I was thinking at one point, should first person for the first character. I was going to do 3 first person POVs, but in the process of getting stuck, I'm like, should it be third person? Should I change the tense? What's happening? Everything's on the table. So going back to craft is also super helpful. So that is step 3. So we have step away, reread, read other stuff, go back to craft. Number 5 is dance. Or move your body. I feel like sometimes you have to get out of your head and into your body. And especially since I'm such a head person, I'm such a person who just lives in my brain. Having a dance break, going to the gym, doing something, taking a walk, just not thinking about it. It's another way to take a step back, but actively get your blood pumping, because I think that goes to your brain. This is my non-scientific reasoning. And then step 6 is see if you're ready to write again. Like every day I sit down and I'm like, have I figured it out yet? Let me try something. Let me think about it. If I'm not, I allow myself to have a little bit more time to do all these things. Like step 7 is repeat. So if I'm not ready yet to write, step away. I might not need to reread, but I did go back into my story Bible. I went back into my world building and character documentation. So I'm rereading the pre-production work, the preparation that I have to write, and seeing what's there. I changed some things. I expanded some things and got a little bit more in depth about this character so I would know her, revisited her motivations. A lot of times it's a motivation issue. Yeah, I went back to craft. So like rinse, repeat. Another thing that is helpful is to talk to someone, to explain the problem to another human being. In this case, I didn't do that, although that often helps. It was just because it's so early and new, and the problem was so specific to like, how do I find her voice? But talking to other people, just even the act of explaining the problem that you're having, the place where you're stuck, can unlock something in your mind. And so that is the bonus tip. So after a few days of this, I sat down at the desk again. I wasn't sure if I was going to write, and I kind of looked at it. I thought about it, and I got a new opening line for her section. So I can't really start writing until I hear the first line, whether it's of the scene or the chapter of the whole book. And I heard a new first line, and I started writing. And so I think, was this yesterday? It was Wednesday. I think I got like 800 words that day. I just started writing and it just flowed. Um, so yeah, what I had to do was just cut the part that I had before, start from a different place. I started actually at a different point in time. I was doing some mirroring because like the first POV starts with a little like an interlude. Think of what I did in The Monsters We Defy, where kind of you introduce each character in their own little interlude. I'm trying out a abbreviated version of that, and starting at a different place helped unlock it for me. And so yeah, all of this work really, and focusing on it, like allowing myself the space to breathe, come back, try again, breathe, come back, try again. Eventually you'll be ready and you'll figure it out. And I think as long as you do the butt and share time and put forth the effort, whether it, and like consciously, because your subconscious mind is working on the problem. And I do think that it is going to help you solve it. So those are my current tips for getting unstuck. And that is what helped me this week get unstuck. Hopefully it helps you. yeah, so that's most of what I wanted to talk about. Announcements, and yeah, if anyone watching live has any questions, let me know. We are doing our Ink and Magic Mastermind Retreat in September. It is online now. So we have shifted from an in-person retreat to online, September 4th through 6th, 2026. If you would like to join us for those 3 days, if you have a completed manuscript or are a published author, please apply, inkandmagicretreat.com. Also, yeah, I have a bunch of workshops that I'm giving. So actually tomorrow, as I'm recording this Saturday, I'm doing the Story Beast conference, the Build Your Author Empire conference. I'm giving 2 workshops tomorrow. There's still time to register at storybeastpodcast.com/build your author empire. I'm doing the live in-person book club at Mahogany Books on Sunday, the 28th. Too late for those listening to the podcast, but if you're here online. And I'm doing another workshop on July 29th online with Jane Friedman, publishing professional. I love Jane and her newsletters. It is called Writing from Your Why, and it is for writers who want to go deeper. JDig asks, do real life events ever add to a story or make you change things to implement an interesting experience? Oh, 100%. Yeah, definitely. I'm always mining from either my real life, things I've heard about, experiences from family, friends, articles, you know? So, yeah, I'm trying to think of, and it's not always like whole cloth, like, oh, this whole experience happened to me, I'm going to write about it. It's usually just picking slivers. It's picking up like moments almost that resonate with the experience of the character. But yeah, because, I only know what I know, and even with all the research that I do, I have to filter it through my lens. And that's why like inhabiting the character becomes so important. Like finding a way in, um, even if it's someone who is very different than me, whose worldview is different, I take an experience that I might have had, or um, a story, an experience someone else might have had, and try to put it in there. So it's more than just trying to make it more interesting. It's just try to make it like fit the character. I'm trying to think of an example. I don't know if I have one, because it's not, like I said, it's not a one-to-one kind of ratio. It's more like, okay, the feeling I had when I did something that scared me, you know. So recently someone asked me about, some of the hardest things that I've done. And I remember when I was in college, I worked at I was a film major. And so there was this program where we got to intern at the Cannes Film Festival in France. And my favorite film director at the time, Hal Hartley, super indie, low budget film director, was premiering a new film. And he was having this like after party. And I was like, I need to meet Hal Hartley. And I snuck into the after party, which is one of the scariest things I had done at that point. And I was like, 20 years old and extremely introverted. And so like whatever it was that compelled me to sneak into a party in France and actually go up to my favorite film director and meet him. He was lovely. He introduced me to his wife at the time, and I was just like gushing and fangirling, and he was extremely lovely. But I was scared out of my mind, and it was very out of character for me to do that. So yeah, I take like, okay, if a character has to show courage or do something hard, like I just pull a sliver of that, and like, what would make you want to do that? And especially if it's a character who is kind of like me, where that's not part of their character. If I'm writing someone who is bold and brash, I would imagine if that was easy to do, or, you try to just put yourself in those situations. So basically. Reed Lovelison says, will you write any more dystopian second world stories like the Bliss Wars? I maybe. The stories that I have kind of in the hopper right now are not dystopian. I was looking at the Bliss Wars again and just thinking how much I loved that world. But yeah, right now I have Blitches in my mind. I've got the Cozy Romantasy in my mind, and I don't know what's after that. So anything, like literally anything is possible. It's just a matter of like inspiration. And as I finish one, or as I get closer in one, usually other ideas come to me. So yeah, who knows? The lawnmowers have started outside. Uh, Reed Leveson says, also, how do you know when a story has dual POV versus one POV? Yeah, that's a great question. So part of it is the scope of the story. Like, for the most part, The Monsters We Defy and Daughter of the Merciful Deep are primarily single POVs. Daughter has a couple of Shuna's POVs, but like, as opposed to something like Earthsinger, where by the end of the series I have like 11 POVs. I don't even know how many people were talking in that one. So it's the scope of the story and who knows what when and who changes. Whose story is this? So usually you have a protagonist. In a romance, I usually like dual POV romances, and that's easy. You get two POVs. In a story that's not a romance or that is, wider in scope, where you might have more than one. Like Blitches is going to have romantic threads, but it's not a romance with a capital R. It's really about who is changing and who is propelling the narrative forward. So as I'm thinking about the story that I'm writing, I was thinking I wanted to write a multi POV story. I wanted to write something like a little bit larger in scope, where you have these different personalities mixing and showing them and what's happening in their minds. And when I was plotting it, it could have gone single POV, but as I was planning multi POV, it was because there were things that the main protagonist doesn't know. She's not there for, she can't see. And there's other ways to get those into the story. And so, over the course of the past 6 months, as I was kind of going back and forth, how many POVs am I going to have? I could have cut the things that she didn't see, or I could have, had someone tell her. There's lots of techniques, but I wanted to build them up more. And I wanted these characters' journeys and their experiences to be more weighty. So basically, it's like, what is the story that you're telling, and who does it affect the most? Who do the events of the story affect the most? Who is growing and changing? And do you want to show that on the page or not? Yeah, that's how I think about it. And some stories you could tell multiple different ways. There's always more than one way to do it. So part of it is your preference. Like, what do you want to do? Do you want to tell a story do you want to be in all these people's heads, or is it really about this one person and their growth trajectory? And does the story not have room for other people to have change arcs? I think that's kind of how I think about it. Hey, Princess, welcome. Speaking of romantic threads, how do you go about writing a romantic subplot without it disappearing or overpowering the main plot? They have to link. They kind of have to go hand in hand. Like, why is there a romantic subplot? What does falling in love or second chance romance, whatever type of romance this is, how does it relate to the character's internal growth? Does it relate to the external plot line at all? So if I think about like Daughter or Monsters, those are my books that have romantic subplots, but they're not romances. I like writing romantic subplots, and I want my stories to have love in them. But with, say, The Monsters We Defy, I have Clara as the main character. Part of her growth arc is letting people in. She's a character who is very solitary, who has a tough time trusting people. She's got trust issues. So letting someone in is important to her growth. And when she grows, she can and finds this family. They can solve the external plot. Something like Daughter, I have Jane and Daniel, who have a history. And again, it's part of growth. Jane's journey is self-forgiveness. It's allowing herself to be loved. It's believing she deserves love. That romantic thread is part of the external plot of saving this town, of doing the physical things, the going places, doing things type of things, in order to accomplish her goal. She has to open herself up. She has to forgive herself, believe in certain things that the romantic plot line helps. So all the subplots have to support or challenge the growth of the protagonist, in my mind. And so in that way, it won't disappear, because it comes through at times of change. You have to find these inflection points where either pulling away or coming towards the love interest is going to give them, like, fill their cup, heal their wound. And in terms of overpowering the main plot, if you're not trying to write a capital R romance and you want it to be a subplot, then making sure that they want things that are not just to fall in love. Their external goals are not to be with this person. They have something else that they're doing. And along the way, falling in love, rekindling an old love or something like that are going to help them. So that's kind of how I think about those subplots. And sometimes they're tiny threads because maybe a character, they already sort of love themselves and know that they're worthy of love, and this relationship is more of like icing on the cake. But I think I do prefer, and I think it's more powerful when it is really integral in achieving that external goal. Cool. All right, y'all. Thank you. I'm glad that was helpful. And thank you all so much for joining me. I want to reiterate that, I'm putting up the first 3 chapters of The Inevitable Undoing of Zahara Douglas. And if you sign up for my newsletter, or if you're already on the newsletter, you already have gotten them. But they will be signing up. It will be a sign up. I'll put it in the show notes. What comes out August 11th? It's coming so fast. I can't even believe it. So yeah, first 3 chapters, pre-order giveaway. Make sure that you pre-order and request from the library, enter the pre-order giveaway, lpenelope.com/pre-order. And yeah, I will see you next time. Episode show notes, go to the Footnotes newsletter and get them in your inbox, myimaginaryfriends.net. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Watch the video episodes on YouTube, and I would really appreciate a rating or review to help support the show. Thanks again, and I will talk to you next time. Happy writing, happy reading.